So Choose or Die was just released on Netflix, and it is starring Robert Englund. He is in this movie every minute.
Every second.
Every minute. They just have him in the corner if he's not in the scene. They just keep him up there because of how much he's in this movie. No.
No. Not at all.
So in the credits, it says that Robert Englund is in this movie. You want to literally know his part in this movie. You never see him.
Not
First, you hear one singular recording of his voice on a voicemail.
Yeah.
And that is it.
That's
and it
all.
is about 10 seconds long. And they play it twice in the film. And that's it. That's your Robert Englund. And they actually have the gall
to say,
and Robert Englund. It's not a and Robert Englund. It's a guest cameo Robert Englund.
Yes.
So an and Robert Englund is a fuck you. That is so lame. Moving on.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to say that this is that kind of film. I talk about this on the channel a good amount. This is what I refer to as a gimmick horror movie, right? It's centered around a very specific gimmick, like Truth or Dare. Or these kinds of movies where they're playing some kind of a game and, you got to do this thing or this thing kills you. The gimmick film is done all the time. Blumhouse a lot of the times is responsible for it. And I'm somebody who's always like, these films are fun. These films are like shitty situations that people are put in. They have to make very hard decisions. It's kind of almost like, it's not family friendly, but it's tame Saw,
yes.
right? Where it's like you have to make those decisions, but it's done in a way that's like much tamer.
Yes.
This is a film where this kid stumbles onto this 1984 video game called Cursor, and once you start playing, you have to choose something or die.
Choose or die.
Yeah, it's self-explanatory. Honestly, if this was done by Blumhouse, it would have been PG-13, and I'm not sure that this film needed to be R. The only thing that made this film R was some fucks here and there, and it felt unnecessary because this is that kind of film that they want to market to the teenage crowd, because this is Countdown, that movie we watched with the app that you download and it tells you when you're going to die. Those kinds of movies, they're usually geared towards the young adult audience. It's very like YA novel type of story, right? It's that gimmick. It's the like little, what did you call it? I always call it like a tagline or something, but like you called it
the
flavor text. I remember. It's like the flavor text on the front of like a YA novel or any of those things. It's like, you do this or you die.
Yeah.
Kind of it's what hooks you in. It's the gimmick. It's what gets you there. Like, oh my God, it's a game of truth or dare to the death. So like with these movies, it is appealing to that YA audience, and this one isolates that audience by not giving the R-rated audience who's watching it the stuff they'd be looking for.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
There's no gore, like almost at all. Like pretty much none. There's blood.
There's blood.
And there's a couple cuts. And that's really about it as far as the gore. And let me tell you, this film could have been graphic as fuck, and it would have elevated this film dramatically for me.
It would have been really cool to see a lot more gore, but I think that some of the R rating might have come from the more like
heavier subject matter with like drug use and child death and whatever.
And a couple of the deaths, I don't know if they could have been shown in a PG-13 rating. Like, even though we don't see a lot of graphic gore, I feel like the final product of what the bodies looked like, I don't know if they would have been able to show that with PG-13.
Well, I'm just saying, you could edit this movie to be PG-13 very easily.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I just feel like this is kind of a missed opportunity in one way or the other. If you're going to give us the R rating, give us the R rating. Like, let me see this shit happening to these people. I want to see them mutilate themselves. That's what I'm here for. That's the R rating. If it's a gimmick horror film, give me the gimmick. and give me it full force. And if you're going to do it more for the YA 13 to 17-year-old crowd, then I understand that and make it a little harder of like a Goosebumps or Are You Afraid of the Dark episode, because that's very gimmicky as well. This could have played along that line of a scary stories to tell in the dark, right?
Sure.
Where it's like just elevated enough to be okay for young adults, but also creepy and cool enough to be played for older adults as well. And I feel like this film, it toes that line, and it doesn't really know where it's going with its rating. That's what I felt throughout. It was just like, okay, show us the shit or don't. Like, kick the fucks out, do this, make it PG-13 or make it hard R. I don't want some in-between movie that gives me really little in the way of, like, violence and gore. It's a fucking horror movie. Let me see, especially in a film like this. I don't need a ton of violence or gore in a haunted house movie or something.
Sure.
Right? It's, like, not necessary. But in a film like this, I do think it's absolutely necessary. And the audience that it would appeal to would like this so much more if there was gore.
I get your criticism with that, but I mean, I really enjoyed the gimmick overall. So I was like super into the story and into the movie. And, you know, when we were watching things, like if there had been more gore, I would have been happy. But I don't know. I think it's honestly fine the way it is.
Okay.
Because I feel like it's like a soft R. So it's like the kind of movie that you could definitely convince your parents to let you go see if you were like a 16, 17-year-old.
Fuck. If your parents won't let you see you don't have to get your permission for 17.
Right. Okay, so like if you're 15, I feel like a 15 or 16-year-old could easily get their parents to let them watch this.
Fucking hope so.
You know, I mean, yeah, I would hope so too, but I was really into everything with this movie. I thought it was really cool. I liked the aesthetics. I liked the characters a lot. I thought that the acting was great.
I don't want it to appear that I didn't enjoy the film, because I do think that I'm not conveying that correctly. I'm pointing out my major flaw with the film, which I think this is more me talking to our audience and what I know of of our audience and what they like. And in a film like this with an R rating, I would expect them to be like, oh, I want the gore. And it should be here. That being said, for a gimmick movie, it is enjoyable, and I did like it. I would recommend it, but I want to preface it as I did by saying that it's not going to give you the full flavor that you're probably going to want out of it. But if you are into a film like a Truth or Dare, or like a fucking Countdown, or like, whatever, then this film is, probably, I don't know, I really like Countdown. Truth or Dare, I know a lot of people hate that movie. I think it's like kind of an unjustly maligned film because of like face distortions that are lame. But
which I like.
Yeah, you thought they were fine. I don't hate them. I'm just like whatever about them. I'm just like, I don't really like them, but it's fine. You're either into gimmick horror or you're not.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to.
And if you're into gimmick horror, I think that you'll enjoy this. Like, a video game that you play that kills you.
It's
right?
super cool.
Like Stay Alive, or they've made a few video game centric horror films in the past.
I like technology and horror meeting. I think that's why Countdown
Fear.com.
is so cool. Yeah, I mean, like having, because it's such a part of our daily lives now. You can't go anywhere without using technology in some way. So it makes sense that the horror genre would kind of expand.
But this is retro technology.
This is retro
technology.
Cool. It is cool, and it's cool. Kind of the commentary on nostalgia and nostalgia culture too, because there's a character that's in it that doesn't. He is kind of a dick, I guess, about being nostalgic. He's sort of stuck up about it.
Yeah, you got Eddie Marsden in here, which is really interesting to see. I was not expecting someone like him in this movie. He usually makes higher caliber movies. Not that I'm like shitting on this movie. I'm not. This doesn't seem like a project he would take. But it's cool. He made a really cool horror thriller, more of a thriller, a couple years ago that I really enjoyed. So I guess it's not completely outside of his wheelhouse. And it's not that he hasn't made. I don't know. Just something about it. It would be like seeing Eddie Marsden in Countdown.
Yeah.
I would just not expect that at all.
For sure.
And then Asa Butterfield is the male protagonist in this. But yeah, overall, it's a cool gimmick horror flick. It has some cool graphical moments in it, like with 80s graphics and stuff that they play around with, and the imagery that they use for when they're playing the game, and some of the visuals that they use for that, and how like people are kind of stuck within a game and there's like visual stuff going on within the realm that's like looks like it's in a video game. That stuff was cool.
It was really cool. I was super into it.
But I definitely can see a lot of people rolling their eyes at this movie. And those are those kinds of people that they just don't like gimmick horror. They're just like, oh, this is... They can't get on board with the gimmick. So they're like, oh, this is just stupid. I think you just kind of have to be a fan of, like, that Christopher Pike, point horror, fucking Fear Street, R.L. Stine, like, kind of stuff. Like, that's that kind of storytelling that you get in a movie like this. And I dig that shit. I do. I do. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a fun one. I definitely think that it's worth your time if you're into these kinds of movies. But if you're not, it's not worth your time. Because you're not going to get like some rad kills or something that you're going to be like, all right, I sat through the gimmicks just to get the rad kills. They're not there.
No.
And I also like that the main actors are kind of more natural looking.
Yeah, that's always, we talk about that a lot.
They're not like gorgeous.
They're not ugly.
They're not ugly. Yeah, they're just kind of like
average, good-looking people, but nothing that's like, oh my god, like I can't believe that.
Yeah, not everyone in the movie is a fucking like Victoria's Secret model.
No, which is, I mean, there's nothing wrong with people being beautiful, but we talk about it a lot because it's hard. It gets hard to relate to characters when they look like models, because you're like, I don't look like that. They're, a barista at a coffee shop with like perfectly manicured nails. But yes, I agree. I liked the look of the actors,
and the girl's attractive. I'm not shitting on her looks at all.
No, you said natural,
but she is natural. She's not wearing really any makeup. Yeah. Her hair isn't really done. She just looks like someone who's going through hell.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. She's a totally normal, fairly attractive girl who is having a shit time and looks it. Yes. And that's good. That's the way it should be. Normal people in shit situations. Right?
Just like the rest of us.
Anyways, let us know if you watch it. Choose or die.
Bye.
Choose or bye.
Choose or bye.